It's now time for Remember When with Uncle John. John Guess, Ouachita County's resident storyteller and local historian. Sit back now and enjoy a walk down memory lane as John recalls the days of yesteryear in his own unique way. You never know, some of it might even be true. So here's Uncle John, along with his trusty sidekick, Kelly Blair.
Back on Remember When with Uncle John. Well, here we are at a midweek point, and it's one of my favorite days of the week because it's Wrestling Wednesday around here. We get to look back on some of these grapplers from back in the day. Who you want to talk about today, John?
The great Jack Brisco would have been 81 years old today.
81.
Born September 21st, 1941.
Nice.
Considered by many, John Leo Jonathan said he was the greatest champion of the 20th century.
Yep, he was a good one.
In the days before long sequined robes and bleached out blonde hair and big muscles and pyrotechnics and
music playing when you
all
walk
that
down
stuff,
there.
you know. Jack Brisco was a two-time All-American for Oklahoma State, a great amateur wrestler, great football, played fullback on his college football team. The guy was a Greco-Roman catch-as-catch-can machine.
There you go.
And the greatest thing in the world at that time was the Funks and the Briscos.
Yep.
Dory Funk Jr. was champion. His dad had passed away. His dad lobbied hard for him to be the champion. He was champion. It was time to put the belt on somebody else. And Jack Brisco was the logical choice. But the rivalry was so big, they faked a car accident for Dory Funk Jr. Said he got hurt in a truck wreck on his farm, and they gave the belt to Harley Race as a what do you call
almost an interim kind of
an interim champion, you know. So he got the belt, kept it a few days, and then he dropped it to Jack Brisco, and which infuriated the Briscos, you know. So Jack kept it a couple of years. He was champion from 73 to 75. And the story goes that by the time it was, you know, it was winding down, he was begging them to take it off of him because of the schedule.
Really?
You know, you're in San Francisco tonight. You're in St. Louis tomorrow night. You know, you're in
Chicago,
you know, 3 nights later. Then you're in Florida. Of course, you know, he'd spend he'd moved to Florida where he ran after he retired. He and his brother Jerry and his brother Bill ran the famous Brisco Brothers Body Shop.
Yeah,
in Tampa for about 30 years. But, you know, one of his claims to fame was that he and his brother discovered Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Terry Bollea, you know, Bollea.
Playing bass in a band down in Florida.
Called Ruckus in a bar down there. But the rivalry between the Funks and the Briscos was awesome.
Legendary.
You know, they had, you know, two brothers. You know, who can you trust better than your brothers, you know?
There you go.
But they traded it around. They traded tag team championships in different parts of the country. But the guy was just a wrestling machine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's hard for these kids today to understand what it was like before all the pyro and all the muscles and all the blonde hair and the tattoos and the, you know, all those things that comes along with it now. You know, Jack Brisco went out, took his jacket off, and put on a wrestling clinic.
Absolutely. And, you know, back in those territory days, the NWA champion would come in and fight a local guy. Now, maybe the local guy was a heel or bad guy, or maybe he was a good guy, but his main job as the champion was to make that guy look like $1 million.
Right.
And to go out and act like a tough guy, make the other guy look like $1 million, and you retain your championship at the end of the night all at the same time, takes a special kind of performer.
You know, the Funks were trained by their daddy and other different wrestlers, but neither one of them had any amateur background.
Right.
You know, Jack and Jerry Brisco both were amateur wrestlers. And like I said, Jack was a 2-time All-American.
Sure.
And was the last 2 years that he wrestled in college was never pinned.
Right.
But, you know, of course, the Funks being the Funks and the Briscos being the Briscos, they made a lot of money together.
No, without question. And, you know, what I remember about the Briscos was being multiple NWA Tag Team Champions as a brother combo. You know, you had the pretty boy combo of Ricky Steamboat and Mark Youngblood, and here's these two old farts. You know, we thought they were old in the early 80s, and the Briscos just kept beating them over and over again for the NWA title, and Steamboat and Youngblood would have to go back and win them back.
His last match was him and his brother went to a double count out against when Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch were the WWF champions. They had a double count out with them on December 28th, 1984. And Jack had just become so disillusioned with the travel, with all the politics involved in it. He retired for good February of 1985 and just gave it up, went back and ran his body shop, and he passed away February the 1st, 2010, complications from open heart surgery. He became disillusioned with the travel, with all the way wrestling had turned into. It had gotten away from wrestling and you know, into entertainment, and he was a wrestler. And, you know, he became disillusioned with it, never came back.
There you go. Yeah. And got out just as wrestling was getting hot. He missed out on a lot of money, unfortunately.
Yeah, but, you know, he's considered one of the greatest NWA champs of all time, a real wrestler.
No doubt about it. Hey, that's going to wrap up Remember When with Uncle John for today. We do thank ProMed Ambulance Service, however, Sherwin-Williams House Paint, The Shopper's Guide, Prescott Raceway, and, those are our sponsors right there. And don't forget, you can always find our podcast anywhere you can find podcasts anywhere around. I guess we'll see you tomorrow, John.
See you tomorrow, Kelly.
You've been listening to Remember When with Uncle John on Y95. This broadcast can be heard each weekday morning at 6:45 on South Arkansas's favorite station, Y95.